In a short course like this, we can cover only a few basics about traditional media relations, cultivating and maintaining useful relationships with local and regional media. So the first and strongest observation I can make is that if this is or becomes your responsibility, take a course in media relations and get some coaching. In fact, this work has such strategic importance that, as Nancy Cronick and Marianne Mavernack have advised us, many larger libraries have been professionalizing the communications and media relations functions in recent years, often hiring communications specialists from other sectors, and that's been very valuable. The rest of us need to understand basic principles so that we can avoid common mistakes from which it can be very hard for the library to recover. On the positive side, through sound media relations, we can influence policy, we can communicate effectively, we can attract media attention to a particular story, and we can act as valuable media resources. In any media relations guide that you will read, you will see an emphasis on establishing credibility with the media proactively. There's that relationship building concept again. The essentials, in addition to relationship building, are a proactive media plan and an understanding of the media perspective on news. Business as usual in library is not news, unfortunately. A story of human impact is news. Think of the difference between a news photo showing the presentation of a check and a news photo that shows the difference that one particular member will experience as a result of that money, such as an exciting new service or a new space or great cool new devices. Here are some pointers for media relations. Learn to issue flawless news releases that frame your story as interesting outside the walls of the library. There are standard templates or forms for news releases. Your grammar and spelling have to be perfect. Always follow up to ensure that yours has been received and read, and offer to help with further details because media outlets get a lot of media releases. Second, initiate and maintain good relations with reporters so that your credibility doesn't have to be established in the middle of a controversy or a crisis. Third, prepare fact sheets or backgrounders with standard paragraphs about your library. These can be inserted very quickly into news releases to help media people understand and assess the situation quickly. Have your statistics ready. When you're ready to announce a new service, have some library members primed to speak personally about the difference that that service will make to them. Develop some sound bites ahead of time and repeat them in interviews and news releases and on fact sheets. Always remember that the sound bites you choose should be geared to your listeners for that occasion. And of course, make sure your premises are clean and uncluttered, especially if you are having anyone photographed in your library. I can assure you, you will not look frugal if the library looks dirty or cluttered. You're going to look either incompetent or uncaring, or both. Turning to social media, it's clear with the mainstreaming of social media that traditional media, newspapers, radio, and TV, are in a very crowded space. Now, these traditional media still influence decision-making, but we are all aware of how central and powerful social media have become in communicating news and in shaping attitudes. Although social media are popular, there have been some doubts about their value in advocacy. Malcolm Gladwell's now famous 2010 essay called Small Change, Why the Revolution Will Not Be Tweeted, published in the New Yorker magazine, said that the ties between people on Facebook and the like are weak in contrast to the strong ties among American civil rights activists of the 1950s and 60s. He noted that the Facebook page of the Save Darfur Coalition has close to 1.3 million members at the time he wrote, who had donated an average of 9 cents apiece. This liking of pages and comments that is so common in Facebook and other social media is referred to as slacktivism, and it is as readily dismissed as petitions by decision makers. More recently, Jonathan Obar and colleagues have studied the use of social media in advocacy by nonprofit organizations in the United States and Canada. These organizations report that they find social media useful. They report 4 major findings. First, social media help connect people to advocacy groups and therefore strengthen the outreach efforts of these advocacy groups. Second, social media help to promote engagement as they enable feedback loops. Third, social media strengthen collective action efforts through speed of communications. And fourth, social media are cost-effective, enabling advocacy groups to do more with less. These studies also highlighted challenges and potential drawbacks of the use of social media in advocacy. For example, the challenge of speaking with one voice when so many people associated with a cause can generate their own content. The challenge of compartmentalizing the advocate's work and personal lives appropriately. The generational challenge among advocates. And the issue of weak ties that Gladwell has also noted. It's important to note that this study did not measure impact on the results of the advocacy. That is, whether the social media actually advanced the results desired on the part of the decision makers. But the ease of communication and engagement can be promising for advocates. One practical example of the use of social media in library advocacy is the Geek the Library campaign. As you will see in Kathy DeRosa's video interview this week, Geek the Library arose from the From Awareness to Funding study. This campaign has been aimed at the probable supporters segment of American residents, and it attempts to turn that passion into active support. Organizers of this campaign hope, quote, to inspire a conversation about our incredible public libraries and their urgent need for increased support, unquote. People are invited to share information about what they geek and how the public library supports them in that passion. Sharing these personal stories will show that everyone in the community benefits from the services that the local library provides. Geek the Library is on Facebook, on Flickr, on Twitter, and on YouTube. In all these places, people can engage other people and grow support for library funding. There are even tips for those who might wish to join in, but who just don't know what to say. This is the first full response to the 2008 research from the library community, and it is professionally advised and designed. Although this campaign is still in its early stages, there is evidence that it is helping to mobilize people to express their support of libraries and provides a way to share personal stories of the high impact of libraries. In 2007, Michael Geist's Fair Copyright for Canadians Facebook group gathered a large membership even during the busy Christmas season. This was remarkable enough, but when the member of the federal cabinet who was responsible for copyright regulation saw how many members of this group came to his office personally from his own constituency to express their concerns, the regulation was pulled for revision. In other words, the real success of this site was in prompting advocates to take action, and that action can't be limited to liking something. Now, this is consistent with what Hugh Williams advises us about social media, that the real power is in prompting someone to do something more than like or share. These points are reinforced in a 2012 study of how senior staff in U.S. congressional offices are seeing digital advocacy. The report is called The Advocacy Gap, which tells us something right there, doesn't it? According to the authors, Shana England and Stephen Hankin, mass form emails are completely disregarded in Washington. Twitter is monitored only by junior staffers, and quality of advocacy communication trumps volume. What's quality, you ask? Personal visits, personal stories, and always communications from the member's own residence. So, as Hugh Williams has already taught us, if we want to communicate by email with elected representatives, we must put our district right in the subject line. We must express ourselves in our own words, and we must be clear about how the issue affects us and the people in our own area. Even with limited research on effectiveness, it is clear that social media and digital advocacy campaigns have to be designed with very clear strategy in mind. These are conversations, not brochures and not publications. Any library expecting to make progress in using social media, any association that wants to make headway, should create smart objectives, allocate time for planning, keep the channels primed with news and events. Edmonton Public Library, for example, posts on Facebook every single day, 365 days a year, and evaluate rigorously. The social media do not replace other modes of communication. Strategies for their use need to be decided in the context of a larger communications plan. Social media can never be the only communications with decision makers. In our next video, we're going to look at working through partnerships and coalitions.